Hi, Lou Pulsfer here to talk briefly about designer diaries for tabletop games. This is pretty fashionable. The designer gets a game published, whether self-published or published by a traditional publisher, and they write a designer diary about how they created the game. Now, most people don't actually keep a diary while they're creating a game. Some, including myself, will write or speak notes about the games, especially when they conceive them and when they playtest them. But they're not thorough. I'm not. So I'd guess that the designer diary is mostly written after the fact. Certainly it is in my case. Do I read designer diaries? No, and that's because the signal to noise ratio can be too low. That is, you don't learn much compared to the amount you've got to read. Now, one designer unkindly described designer diaries as too concerned with oneself. What he actually said was onanistic. I suggest you look that up. If I don't already know the game, then the opportunities to learn from the designer diary are reduced. And since I almost never buy a game, and I'm more likely to buy a video game than a tabletop game, the advertising isn't worth my time. I prefer to read blogs that address particular design problems. Nonetheless, there are a lot of game buyers, consumers, who do read designer diaries. And this helps them learn about the game. And in other words, it's an antidote to the problem of discoverability. There are way too many games published nowadays, and it's really difficult to get any attention. A designer diary is free advertising without the stigma of it being advertising. Now, as I said, I'm not a diarist, and my games take years to create, which dilutes the memory, but it's possible to fill in. I even wrote a designer diary about a game I designed in approximately 1980, Dragon Rage. But I can't say I look forward to writing designer diaries, and while I try to keep up the information as I'm designing a game, I often forget to. Nonetheless, it's something that has to be on your own website, even if not on Board Game Geek or someplace like that. So it may not be fun, but after all, there are things in game design that are not fun, like prototype construction, and sometimes you just have to put up with it. Now, if you're inclined to educate people, as I am obviously, a designer diary is a chance to talk to your readers about game design in a way that will help other designers avoid the school of hard knocks. So you should tell the truth. One designer asked if he ought to include in a designer diary that his game had languished with a publisher for a couple of years and the publisher hadn't done anything with it. And the answer, of course, is yes. That's part of the deal. It's not that unusual an occurrence, and aspiring designers should learn about that sort of thing. So tell the truth. Don't gloss over things. Now, a designer diary is also an opportunity for self-promotion. I'm never sure how much self-promotion helps in game design, but you can promote yourself as a designer as well as promoting your individual game. I personally doubt that many people base their buying decisions on who designed a game, but it probably happens, and consequently it can be worth the self-promotion. So in the end, you have to ask yourself, is the work of writing the diary article worth the increase in advertising and promotion that comes from it? Only you can decide.